Hi, this is Nathan. Welcome to the Wad Fam Chalk Pod.
Oh, hi there. Welcome to the pod. I'm Dylan James Weaver, but most folks around here just call me Dylan. Why don't you get the whole family together and join us for another exciting episode of the Wad Fam Chalk Pod. Hello and welcome to the Wad Fam Chalk Pod. I'm Dylan Weaver.
And I'm Andrew Sabo.
And we are back this week to talk about episode 385, It's a Pokenberry Christmas, part 1.
The penultimate episode of the Pastor George Barkley arc. I say penultimate now only because Dylan taught me that word.
Wow. Look at this. We've got growth, folks.
We got growth. Saying this podcast never gave me anything.
Yeah, we're over 100 episodes in and we're improving.
Expanding my vocabulary.
Yeah, look at that. All this time, Andrew learned entitled.
Yeah.
He learned...
what was disturbed? Or what was the one that we...
I think you knew the word disturbed.
Yeah, I think I definitely did. No, but there was something that sounded like that we were going back and forth. We probably cut it from the episode, actually.
Who knows?
Maybe
we cut this.
Probably.
So yeah, because we can edit this one.
Yeah, we can. Pull back that curtain.
Yeah, this episode's coming out or being recorded 2 days after our snap recording of Unto Us a Child is Born. Amen to that. Exactly. So yeah.
For whatever that's
hopefully
worth to you guys.
Went well. Hope you guys
like it?
That.
Tweet at us.
Yeah, we've got 3 episodes before this one comes out.
Mm-hmm. So. And Dylan let me take over the social media.
Yeah.
So hopefully by the time this comes out, I will have actually posted something.
Yeah. Yeah, it's this has been a weird spring of us just being like super ahead. It's winter. What am I smoking?
Yeah.
It's been a weird winter of us just being really ahead of the game, and I'm here for it.
Me too. It feels good, actually.
Yeah. So this episode first aired December 13th of 1997, which for greater context was 2 years after Pokenberry Falls RFD.
Yeah, there's a large gap.
Right, and you feel it, and it's like, so this isn't like, this is the coda. This is the epilogue. Much in the same way that Blacker's Revenge functions. This is and actually even more to that point of, this is Paul Herlinger coming in as Wit.
Yeah.
After it originally being Hal Smith, then him passing, then them not having Wit, and then the Barkleys leave.
Yep.
And then they bring Herlinger back.
Yeah, and the search for
Wit.
When
Herlinger's back, they then do another Barkley episode. So it actually mirrors Blackguard a lot in that regard.
Yeah, that's really cool. I definitely, we're glad to be back in Herlinger Wit. Voice sounds great. Definitely made note of that for this episode. Do you want to get into the cast?
Well, the only other thing I wanted to bring up, this is track 2 on album 31, Days to Remember.
Yeah, that was a big album for me, actually. I had that one.
It's a weird album that's like, it's not like episodes that aired sequentially. It's a lot of, it's almost like a collection of holiday episodes.
Yeah.
And then like other weird like moral stuff. Like it's not, I don't know.
And Truth, Trivia, and Trina.
Is Truth, Trivia, and Trina on this album?
Yeah, it's was it?
It is not, according to the official guide.
What? No, that's on Past. Truth, Trivia, and Trina is on.
Yeah,
it's on Passport to Adventure.
Correct.
Sorry.
Yeah, that because that was an album that was like the album we started on.
Yes, and also an album I had.
Yeah.
Sorry, Days to Remember has this. And wow, now I want to check because I had it.
I've got the list here.
Okay,
Faster Than a Speeding Ticket.
Yep.
Hide and Seek. The
Yep.
Graduate.
Oh, The Graduate.
This is the episode. This is the album where Connie finally graduates. It's also got New Year's Eve Live.
Yeah.
BTV Thanks.
Yep. I remember
the
BTV Thanks.
the Eugene and Katrina Valentine's engagement party.
Yeah,
thing.
that whole debacle.
Yes, with the rings.
Yes.
Hey, maybe we'll cover it someday.
Who knows? That was nice and sync.
Yeah. Reference acknowledged.
Thank you.
So yeah. So the big thing to point out for this episode and the second part is that it is a full-blown, like, It's a Wonderful Life pastiche.
Yeah.
It is, like, essentially an It's a Wonderful Life adaptation in the way that, like, a Thanksgiving Carol is a Christmas Carol adaptation. Like, they're doing a very similar thing here. And I've been kind of avoiding talking about it because I knew these episodes were coming, but this has been layered in throughout the Barclays stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
So the Barclay family, being George and Mary, are named after the family in It's a Wonderful Life, being George and Mary Bailey. And so that's kind of like that's step one, and then it is extrapolated out from there. So we get Donna and Jimmy being named after Jimmy Stewart and Donna Reed, who play George and Mary in It's a Wonderful Life. Jimmy Stewart, Donna Reed. We get Stewart Reed as the third child in the household.
Wow, this is like tiramisu. It got layers.
Right. We touched a bit on the whole thing of, like, Bedford Falls, then becoming Pokenberry Falls with the kind of combination of It's a Wonderful Life and Andy Griffith Show. We didn't touch on, but Barry Lionel is named after Lionel Barrymore, who is the actor who plays Mr. Potter, who is the villain of It's a Wonderful Life,
yeah.
who is Barry Lionel is the villain of this episode. And so if you have not seen It's a Wonderful Life, dear listener, go listen to it. Go watch it.
Yeah.
It is genuinely great. I watched it last night and had a grand old time. It is streaming for free on Amazon Prime.
It's
if you're
on
a
Amazon Prime
subscriber.
I didn't know that. Oh, I'm gonna watch it tonight then.
Yeah, watch it before the next episode. It will, like, you'll get stuff.
Yeah,
because so pulling back the curtain a little bit again, I, like, cried at the end of It's a Wonderful Life. And part of that is just because it's a really well-made movie and it's emotional and it's Christmassy. Part of it, though, is that I have so much nostalgia for these two episodes that then translates into nostalgia for that movie, even though I had never seen it before.
Yeah, these episodes were ones that like I said, I had growing up, but I didn't listen to them a ton, mostly because they were sad. But and they were a little bit more intense, and also I only had stuff at the beginning of the Barclays and the end of the Barclays. I never had a lot of the build up to this. So listening through it now, I'm enjoying it so much. But I would benefit from watching It's a Wonderful Life to at least get some of that context. And dear listener, I certainly hope I do that before part 2, especially now that I know that it's available on Amazon Prime for streaming. Please sponsor us, Amazon Prime.
Yeah, that would be cool. But this one was on Christmas Classics, which is one of the 2 complete albums of Odyssey I owned, and it's a compilation album, so it barely even counts as a complete one. But so this episode was in heavy rotation for me. So, like, I know this episode like the back of my hand, and
that's so exciting.
Watching It's a Wonderful Life was a really bizarre experience in, like, there are lines of dialogue from these episodes that are lifted from that movie.
I can kind of tell that. There are certain lines that are delivered in such a way that sound like they're from something else, and my guess is that's what it's from.
Yeah. Chuck Bolte writes in the official guide that he loved, this is maybe his all-time favorite show that he worked on for the Barclays. He's the voice of George, and just loved, what McCusker had done in the writing, and then what that allowed him to do, being very, like, getting to do voices that were very Jimmy Stewart inspired and have real fun with that, which is, it's just cool.
Really cool.
And then the other thing we've got here, just off the top, we got to talk about cast. And so we have Alan Young here playing Mr. Welsh. In case you didn't hear that, because oh my word, it just sounds like Jack.
Yeah, it's just Scottish, like slightly Scottish Jack.
Yeah. And then we also have we've got Craig Miller playing Stuart Reed. Yeah. So in Stuart's only, like, voice performance in these 2 episodes. So Craig Miller is.
He doesn't sound like a Craig.
So he was 3 years old when this was recorded. The son of then Focus on the Family Vice President Clark Miller.
Oh, wow.
That obviously, as a 3-year-old, he could not read, so he was just repeating lines back.
That checks out a lot, especially with how close he sounds to the microphone. Like, you can totally imagine a 3-year-old sitting at a table and just being like, now you say this, la, la, la. And then the kid goes, okay, la, la, la.
Yeah, it is. It's really fun. I love that they went and were like, yeah, Stuart's 3. Who do we have in the office
need a 3-year-old.
who has a 3-year-old? And then they did it, and then they made it turned out really well.
He sounds
I think
absolutely
it is super effective.
Adorable. Oh my gosh, my heart melted. Oh, you hear it, it's like, oh, whatever you want. Especially with the we'll get to it, but some of the lines he gives when he's talking to his dad, George, about the bike pedal and everything. It just absolutely melt me.
Yeah. All right, and I am going to roll the promo now, if
that
is cool with you.
It's Christmas in Pokenberry Falls, but there's no peace on earth for George Barclay. On the next Adventures in Odyssey, conflicts in Pastor Barclay's church make him wish he'd never been the pastor. And in a strange twist of fate, he seems to get his wish. Learn that God, not circumstances, is what makes life wonderful. Next time on Adventures in Odyssey.
I was doing a little Peanuts dance for the audience at home.
Very nice. Very nice. It was very downcast words for very upbeat music, I would say.
No, that's fair. I wonder if it was a conscious decision or if it just happened, because so they say he says peace on earth in it.
Yeah.
Which is the first Barclay Christmas episode. Mm-hmm. It's also just a Christmassy phrase that makes sense to use.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing it wasn't intentional, but it is nice.
Accidental continuity is our favorite part of Adventures in Odyssey.
that might be fair. Yeah.
That and shipping children relationships.
There is that too.
It's fun. I'm sorry. Calyx is great.
Shout out to Calyx. We have not talked about Calyx in so long.
I say we cover those episodes again.
Yeah, that's true. We're 3 seasons into the show. We're going to run out of Odyssey at some point.
We might as well. Just go back to Novacom, man.
Yeah.
I certainly couldn't just go back and listen to the backlog.
No. We got to cover it with all the new context we have.
Yeah. Well, I've listened to a lot of new episodes of Odyssey since that I hadn't listened to growing up and previously, so.
Yeah, but they all come after that.
Yeah, that is true. That is also true.
Oh, all right. So the episode itself starts out with a wit intro.
Yeah. Yeah, we get a Wit intro, which is weird but really nice, and it begins with Wit and Eugene at Wit's End. And so, did Mary write the letter to Wit? Is that what? That's the situation.
Mary called Wit.
Yeah. Okay.
Just to say, like, hey, things are not going well. For George and Pokenberry, he's thinking about quitting.
Yeah, catches him up with kind of everything that's been going on with
yeah.
Barry Lionel and
and we hear about all this through Wit relaying it to Eugene rather than Mary relaying it to Wit.
Yeah,
which, I do appreciate. Also, so they go from the Wit intro to Christmas music that then pulls through the radio.
Yes,
into
Wit's End,
Eugene,
which is so nice.
It's one of my favorite.
I love it when the radio does that, especially when it goes into Wit's End.
It's the establishing shot that like shoots through a window.
Yep,
that's like a real classy like TV movie move. And it's just Odyssey's version is just like, we'll just like fade the audio into the... Yeah, I love it.
Radio, what a magical device.
Mm-hmm. Unlike podcasting.
No.
Sucks.
Yeah. So boring and filled with nerds like Dylan and Andrew.
That's true. Both of us are nerds.
Yeah, and we are on the internet. And we do make a podcast.
Right again. So the whole thing here is... So, yeah, Wit's telling Eugene all this info, and then...
kind of talking about, like, holiday plans and stuff.
Right. Well, yeah, because Eugene... Wit's like, I think like, he could use some encouragement, and maybe from an old friend. And Eugene's kind of like, well, who would be available? Like, isn't Christmas, like, being in a couple days? And Wit's like, well, I was planning on rendezvousing, which I was like... All right, Wit.
Fancy word.
Yeah, with Jason and Jana the day after Christmas, so he's available. And Eugene throws out that Armitage took the entire Shanks family to London, so he's available.
Subtle flex. The Shanks and their money.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
all that Novacom money, man.
Yeah.
Or Andromeda money. I think he's technically Andromeda, but regardless,
we'll just have to recover those episodes till we remember. Do we have them ingrained in our brains? No, definitely not.
My brain will turn to mush.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's when we turn Odyssey into the Nova box.
So yeah, and then Whit and Eugene just are like, okay, we're going to Pokenberry.
Which is so fun and great, and it's like a super fun intro to the episode. Because, like I said, it's super organic. And you get a really great dynamic, which is Whit and Eugene, which we haven't gotten much recently. And then we go to the Barclays, Jimmy and Donna specifically, sledding. Right. And a great scene. Great scene with Jimmy basically talking about, like, he's doing, like, a fake announcer voice talking about, like, setting a new world record for, like, sledding down a hill.
For the record, the thing he says, which is great, is the world record in Pokenberry, at least.
Yes.
Jimmy's great.
Jimmy is so funny. This whole episode, they dialed it in, and he just spits absolute fire.
Yeah. So, note for, because I'm going to be constantly talking about the It's a Wonderful Life parallels.
Yeah.
Which also begins on a sledding scene.
Oh, does it?
Yep. It begins on, now in It's a Wonderful Life, it's a flashback, but it's George sledding down the hill, and then his younger brother Harry sledding down the hill and falling through the ice.
Yeah.
And in this, we have Donna fall through the ice.
Yeah,
and in that movie, it's like a tragedy. In this movie, it is just
her sleeves gets wet. Yeah.
Wet.
Yeah, the fact that nobody in either of those movies, or this show or that movie, dies from hypothermia, astonishing.
Yeah. Oh, they're sledding down Potter's Hill.
Which Potter's
Mr. Potter is the villain.
Yep.
There's this whole thing going on with Donna getting a college scholarship, which is really cool and fun, and also like there's a big college plot in It's a Wonderful Life. with his younger brother Harry going to college. He wants to go to college. His brother ends up going in his stead. And so they just have like college stuff peppered in, which is like a great example of like it like adds a little bit if you know It's a Wonderful Life, but it also just makes sense for the episode
and for the characters to do everything that they would normally be doing.
Yeah, exactly. Like
it works on both levels.
Yeah, and it is a thing of like we've jumped 2 years in the show and 2 years in real time. Like Stuart is now 3-ish.
Yeah,
and Donna and Jimmy are older. I mean,
Jimmy sounds older.
Yeah.
Although he has a lot of, he's got like kind of the snark of a, just of an older Jimmy with all of like the sense of humor and everything. Yeah. Like he's talking about like sledding, making it past the big oak tree with no fixed name and stuff like that. Like his humor has really, really stepped it up.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and Donna starts to sled down the hill, and Jimmy starts throwing snowballs at her.
Yeah, it's a great scene. And then like Mary and Stuart are at the top of the hill.
Yeah, it's the first time we hear Stuart talk, and it's like, whoa, Stuart can talk.
Yeah,
like this is fun. It's just funny, like it makes sense, but it's that thing of like they're in this small town, like they knew kind of going into it they're not gonna have like a lot of peers and whatnot. So you can imagine like Jimmy and Donna also with like where they are age-wise getting way closer.
Yeah.
And so it's like it's funny that like Donna is about to graduate, is in her senior year of high school and like sledding with her brother and with her younger brother, and Jimmy's also like 10th grade.
Yeah, definitely. He's like definitely at least, I think he was in 9th grade previously.
Yeah, I think when we started talking about it, we were putting Donna in like 10th and Jimmy in 8th.
Yeah,
so yeah, it's easy to assume that
he's in 10th grade. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's just a fun little thing.
Did you get closer with your siblings when they were a little bit older?
Yeah, like I got,
because that was like a big thing for me. Like
as the oldest, it's a little bit different. But like when like my peers went away to college and I did not, and my next youngest brother was in high school, like he and I wound up spending a lot of time together. Yeah, and then that drifted for a while and is now like. Yeah.
He moved out.
Right. Has now stabilized in a way that's like, we're not like, I don't know. We don't see each other much, but when we do, it's more intentional, which is nice.
Yeah.
And just like, that's what happens when you live in different places.
Yeah. No, that's exactly how it is with my brother now. Friend of the podcast, Brendan Acebo.
That's true. Friend of the pod.
But with my younger sister who's, she's getting ready to go to college and stuff. I've definitely noticed, like, since she's gotten, into relationships and things like that, like, it has become a thing where, like, spending time with my sister feels like spending time with a friend to a certain extent. Where, like, in the same way that I've figured out things that I do with friends, like record a podcast, I figured out things that I do with her. So, yeah.
Yep. No,
really fun, and like we've said previously, they absolutely kill the family dynamic.
Yeah, and it's awesome too when you realize like as actors they had not done this in 2 years.
Yeah,
like they're coming back together after a while.
Donna sounds surprisingly happy,
and like they're coming back together after a while and like pulling off the dynamic properly.
Yeah,
which is
really well.
Yeah, super cool. We get this little conversation between Stuart and Mary where he's asking why Dad's not there, and she's like, oh, he's going to talk to Mr. Lionel, and Stuart's like, Mr. Lionel drives a limousine,
Yeah. And he's got a big car, and he's like, yeah, it's a limousine, and
he's got a lot of money. We don't have a lot of money, Stuart says, which like is heartbreaking and really funny.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's so funny to hear. He's like, we don't have a lot of money, and Mary's like,
bluntness of a 3-year-old.
Yep. Well, and kind of in a way that at least sounds to the listener of like he's just stating a fact that he connected the dots. That like, if you have a lot of money, you have a big car. Wait, we don't have a big car.
Yeah. And then So we said Jimmy was throwing snowballs at Donna when she goes down. Jimmy then starts to sled down, and Donna mumbles to herself that she's gonna wrap up some rocks and snowballs.
Oh yeah, that's pretty malicious. I ain't gonna lie. I wonder where they're sledding.
They're sledding on Potter's Hill.
Well, okay, yeah. I guess
Come
it's
on,
covered
Andrew.
in rocks.
Um,
Most of the hills I sled on are covered in grass.
yeah.
Not too many rocks to stash snowballs.
Yep. And then we do an amazing transition of Jimmy sledding down the hill, fading into Barry Lionel rolling down his window.
Yeah. It's like... Do you like my imitation of that? My imitation of
I feel like it's more effective just to describe the sound. Also, everyone's
100%.
listened to the episode, right?
I hope
Does
so.
anybody listen to our show having not heard the episode we're talking about? Because I've definitely done that for other shows.
Yeah.
So if you're one of those people, tweet at us.
Yes, definitely. Let us know. Let me know. I that's how I am most of the time. Only if it's something that I already am interested in, or if I really, really like the creator, then I'll be like, okay, I take their recommendations. But I've only done that like once or twice.
We'll see if he does it for me for next week's episode.
I definitely will. I feel so bad, like my FOMO for not have seen this movie and connecting the dots. Like Dylan's over here crying, and I'm like, I watched the CinemaSins of it, so I just have a lot of snarky things to say. This is a genuinely touching film.
So good. All right. So
Anyway.
So you've got George asking Barry Lionel for money.
Yeah, for sheet music, for the church service, and apparently that's like super expensive and inconvenient for Mr. Barry Lionel, illustrious billionaire, or at least millionaire. It's like the 90s.
That's true. He also wants money for the Christmas banquet.
Yes, the Christmas banquet, and that's probably significantly more expensive. And Barry Lionel is very, very upset and does not want to give the money. And George gives a really good sentimental speech about like why this is a good thing, and it gives hope. Is that a line that he's? Is that a line that he stole from the?
I don't
movie?
think so. I didn't jot it down as one. That doesn't mean it isn't.
I think it gives them a little bit of hope as well. There's just the way that he says it, I guess.
Well, and it is Chuck Bolte doing a Jimmy Stewart the entire episode, whether or not he's quoting a specific line. But,
that's fair.
But yeah, it also might be a line I have not, like, I'm not familiar enough with the movie to know. Like, I'm sure I'm gonna miss stuff, but I did try and do my due diligence here. But yeah, so the Christmas banquet is also, it's not like it's a Christmas party for like George and some staff employees or whatever.
No, it's for homeless people.
Right. So it's a banquet for the unemployed and the unhoused.
Yes.
Which, yeah.
And it's a hot meal. It's like a charity thing because it's a church, and that's what churches should do.
And it's Christmas.
Yes.
And yeah, and Barry's like, look, I haven't been, if I'm going to be honest, I haven't really been happy with your work as pastor. All these programs you have don't come close to paying for themselves.
Yeah.
It's a church. They're a non-profit.
Yeah,
they shouldn't be paying for themselves.
Churches shouldn't be businesses.
Right.
Hot take.
The lukewarmest of takes.
Yes. Well, I mean, the way that some people act.
I know. We love you, Joel Osteen. Come on the pod.
Please don't come on the podcast. I wouldn't have anything nice to say. My mom must raise me to, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. So maybe you can pick a week where I'm out of town. The one off you record with Mega Pastor Joel Osteen. He flew you down to Texas. That's where he's at, right?
Yes.
Yeah, he's in Houston.
Yeah, we almost have, like, if that opportunity arises.
We have to.
We have to, right?
Yeah, no. Personal convictions aside, if, like, Dr. Dobson wanted to come on our podcast for some reason, I would clench my teeth and hold my tongue and give that man his respect because we'd have to.
Right, yeah.
It's just nature.
Yeah. So if any of you guys have those hookups,
let me know.
The DMs are open.
Yeah. Email as well.
That's true. The original DM.
Isn't that just I am?
Sure, but email was before I am, so
that's fair.
So he's like, these programs don't come close to paying for themselves, and anytime you need money, you're coming to me.
Yeah.
And George is like, well, look, like, you don't have a family. You have tons of money.
Yeah.
You're like
You're on the board.
Right.
Like,
yeah, I mean, like, I don't know.
He has a vested interest in the church, at least enough to, like, if he just owned the land and he didn't participate, then that'd be one thing.
It is a weird thing where I'm like, I don't totally love, like, hey, let's have, like, one guy who fully funds the church.
No, it's bad.
I don't like that conceptually.
Capitalism, that part of it is not great.
Right. However, Barry Lionel sucks.
Yes.
So.
Well, and if you're taking his money to use it for something genuinely valuable, like feeding the homeless.
Yeah.
Literally, like, where was I don't remember.
You were just mad at Barry Lionel.
I'm always mad. Eat the rich. Well, I don't know. Maybe not eat them, but take some of their money. They got a lot of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just right. Like, Barry was, in the previous episodes, a villain.
Yeah.
But, like, felt like he had, like, that he wasn't, like, a monster.
Well, yeah, he wasn't directly antagonizing the church, and you got the idea that, yes, this is a thing that I am a part of, that I have a vested interest in, and, I am, rich daddy moneybags, and I financially support a lot of things that go on here, but that's because I care about it. And this episode, we get pretty much the exact opposite, that he does not want to give his money to anybody else ever.
Right. And for the record, Rich Daddy Moneybags is Andrew's new rap name.
Yeah, actually, peep the new the new SoundCloud mixtape. It's only Post Malone acapellas that I've remixed with EDM.
Coming soon to a SoundCloud near you.
Just mine. Only mine. So if that's near you, then fine.
The internet's local, right?
Yeah,
that's how that works.
It should be a utility.
And so, yeah, and one of the things Barry points out, Barry Lionel, whatever, Lionel Barrymore.
Yeah, both.
Bad
all
man.
of the above.
He's like, you should pressure your congregation into giving more.
He's growling too.
Yeah.
He's like, did you ever think of pressuring the congregation into contributing more? And he's like, yeah, they're all broke.
Right.
And what they do give is, from their hearts.
Yeah, and he's just like, what good is the church? We should just shut it down and send all the people to Rupert.
Yep, because there's plenty of churches there.
Right.
And they thrive. Do you know what it means to be a thriving church, George?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It's a good performance.
Yeah, it's really good.
The thing I was trying to hit on a bit ago and then kind of lost my train of thought, but just the fact that, like, in these episodes, Barry Lionel has to be, like, because they are doing this It's a Wonderful Life homage, and in It's a Wonderful Life, Mr. Potter is even more villainous than Barry Lionel.
Wow.
Yeah. So in this, they're like, but they do crank up his villainy in these. Like, he becomes even less, like, sympathetic and understanding of a person than the previous episodes, which were also bad.
He takes on the form of the bad guy in Into the Spider-Verse. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. Just like that comically large businessman sort of aesthetic. That's the energy I
His
get
name's
from
Kingpin.
He's
also the villain of the Daredevil TV show.
Oh, continuity.
Yeah. Another thing that just occurred to me here instead of earlier, because whatever. But that I found fun. There is, like, a whole part of It's a Wonderful Life where they are constantly like talking about a plastics factory.
Wait, really?
And so of course Bedford Falls is like, or Pokenberry Falls' main thing is plastics
and keyboards.
Yep. Yep. More funny. So yeah, George then is like, throws back at him. He's like, oh, well, you'd probably like the church to shut down because it's like sitting on good land.
Yeah.
Which is just so funny because it's like, it's next to it's basically on the college campus, and it's this really old, beautiful building. Like, he's going to bulldoze it to make a golf course?
Exactly. That was my thinking. I was like, wait, when did this become a burden? Like, from what I've gathered, he has the heat turned off all the time. Like, it's essentially just 4 walls that he's keeping up. And that is, if he owns the land and he owns the building, like, what is the small amount that he's contributing for that, you know?
Yeah, it was just like an interesting thing of like, oh, I didn't like the idea of bulldozing the church is shocking when it's like, it's an old building.
Yeah.
It's like
super valuable.
And sitting like right on a college campus. It's like, why do you want to put a golf course there? Whatever. They just
turn it
needed
into
like
super
this
bougie
conflict.
rustic apartments.
I mean, fair.
Or like a really nice restaurant for his fancy schmancy resorts. I hear rich people
you're making
love it.
Great points, Andrew. I would eat at those or
I
live in those, you know.
Rustic churches converted into other things. I still like the church part of it. I will say that. It's mildly sacrilegious. I get that, but it looks cool.
Yeah.
I like the high ceilings. What can I say?
Yeah. And yeah, then
that's been Architecture Corner.
Architecture Corner. I was trying to think of some architectural term for a corner, but we're just gonna keep moving.
That works for me.
And so yeah, then Barry says his like horrible line of like, I don't mind, because George is like, you know, like, don't you believe in tithing or whatever?
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't mind tithing to God, but I'm getting fed up with supporting the rest of this lazy rabble around here who won't pull their own weight. And this is when George is just like, that rabble you're talking about is like these people who give from their hearts, who like give above what they can, who care about this town, who are in a bad place. Like, you're calling them lazy rabble. Like, and then he drops the direct from It's a Wonderful Life of a warped, frustrated old man. Although he throws in rich as well. A warped, frustrated, rich old man. And then
he goes off.
Yep. And rightfully so.
Yeah.
And then Barry Lionel is like, if you can't pay the bills, you'll have to close the church. Which is
true, and and then that's like the end of it, and basically George storms off. And and so he goes over he goes back to see the family on the sledding hill briefly, right? And then he goes over to see Ellis at the church. But like he only goes over there just as much to basically be like, "Oh, I can't hang out with you guys. I got to go to the church."
Yep. Which
is tough, but obviously, you know, he's got a lot on his mind. And so he shows up at the church, and he says, it looks like a tornado went through. It's just Ellis that's there, and he's looking for the deposit slip for the $800 that he thought that he deposited at the bank.
Yep. And so Ellis is here taking the character of Uncle Billy, who in It's a Wonderful Life misplaces $8,000.
Wow.
Which also, It's a Wonderful Life is set in like the 40s.
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
That is so much more money than this.
You can buy a house for like $900.
So it really goes to underline how bad like things are for the church, that they're like, and so rather than him misplacing the money, he has misplaced the money was never deposited, and he has misplaced, and he's trying to find the deposit slip.
Yeah.
And then the bank has no record of the deposit. There's this really funny bit where he's like I never even wanted to be treasurer. You guys voted on that while I was out of town.
Yeah, I never wanted to be treasurer.
Yeah.
You guys voted me in while I was out of town, remember?
Yeah. And they start
Woody Allen-esque. Yeah, so they're looking through the church, and he's like, okay, I'll help you look. And then they decide to retrace his steps. And so they start, going through the process, and he's like, okay, well, before you went to the bank, or no, it was after you went to the bank, you went to get some gum. And he's like, oh, well, I might have gotten a lollipop for something. And George is like, I don't care what you bought. I just care where you went.
Yep.
And this is clearly stressing out Ellis a lot.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, this is incredibly stressful for everyone. Like,
yeah.
George is going to, lose his mind shortly.
Well, and he, it seems to be affecting Ellis's memory. He's clearly so stressed out that, he does not sound like he is operating in the right mind.
And, and Ellis never seemed like a man who had it together.
No.
But, it then comes out, he has lost his pilot's license.
Yeah,
And George is saying, did you lock it away in some secret place? Have you checked all the places around town?
Yeah. And he's like, I checked places.
Ellis is like, I've checked places I haven't been since I lost my pilot's license. I've been everywhere. And then George, and Ellis at this point doesn't know about he knows this is a big deal. He doesn't know about the threat of having to close the church. And George is just like, this is going to be the end of church in Pokenberry Falls.
And the tradition of fellowship.
Yeah. Somebody's going to Rupert and it isn't going to be me.
Yeah, that's a very
lifted line.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. There you go. Yeah, no, it's a powerful scene, and it's very interesting to see George this emotive. Just because, obviously, I feel like we haven't seen it quite to this extent. He is getting really heated with Ellis, and later we see him get super heated on the phone.
Oh, yeah. Great scene.
Whew, yeah.
It is weird talking about this episode. I think it does the adaptation of It's a Wonderful Life very well. It is also weird complimenting things that are just
directly
It's a Wonderful
taken.
Life.
Yeah. It's mild plagiarism, but at least it's entertaining.
Yeah, and it's done with such love, and also it's not like they're on rails and can't change. They do a good job adapting the story to fit the situation.
Oh yeah.
No,
it reads It reads first and foremost as an Adventures in Odyssey episode if you haven't seen It's a Wonderful Life.
Right. Yeah, I mean, there was a point in my life in which, years after having heard this, in which someone, made reference to It's a Wonderful Life and George and Mary Bailey, and I went, George and Mary Bailey? What? And then I spiraled down this rabbit hole and realized that this was just It's a Wonderful Life.
Oh, wow.
And then I did not watch it until now.
I was going to say, that's quite the realization.
But I really felt I was I know the references for It's a Wonderful Life because of this.
Yeah,
the same
really
way that
cool.
I don't really I haven't read Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol, though I have seen some adaptations. I've also listened to Adventures in Odyssey's Thanksgiving Carol and seen VeggieTales' Easter Carol.
Oh, I forgot about that one.
So I really feel like I understand that thing quite well.
Yeah, I've read the book. That's a very interesting. I love it when art informs art in that way. Oh, and we have a great reference to Christmas Carol right about now. Yeah, which is George gets home and Jimmy says, God bless you, everyone. And Donna goes, wrong movie. Yeah, so funny. That was I when I was listening to this to prep for this the second time, I was like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe they just pulled that out there. That was this little fourth wall just uppercut, like out of nowhere. Donna just throws that in there.
It's so funny.
Oh,
it's so
man.
funny. And so yeah, George gets home to Jimmy practicing guitar.
Yeah.
So
is he playing George of the World on the electric guitar or something?
yeah, I forget what exactly he's playing, but he's practicing Christmas music on electric guitar.
Yeah.
In the movie, it's one of his daughters playing piano.
Oh, okay.
But we get the same thing here of like George slowly getting frustrated. He forgot his coat and wreath, which is also the movie. And then he like lashes out at Jimmy for the guitar practicing.
Yeah, he's upset about everything, and Mary tries to comfort him, and is like, "What's wrong?" And then he's like, "What's wrong? What's right about this town?" And he snaps there.
Right. So there's also, adding to the stress, there's a Christmas party / celebration for Donna's college acceptance that it will be happening that night.
Yes, at their house because of the energy budget cuts that the church had to go through.
Right. So George goes off and says, this, I don't know why we ever moved to this crummy, drafty old town.
Yeah.
And
Jimmy says, "Don't forget measly."
right, because the line in the movie is crummy, drafty, measly.
Oh. Is it really? Dang.
So they gotta get that in there.
I was wondering why Jimmy was so quippy with that.
It's this meta jokes that work really well, and
really
Jimmy
do.
gets to deliver a lot of them, which is fun.
Yeah.
And then we get Tommy Welsh. We find out that he was teaching Stuart how to bike, and the pedal broke, and
he's upstairs resting because George is asking, like, where's Stuart Reed? He should be here to witness his father's mental breakdown.
Yep. And he's up in the bed with the swollen ankle. Mary had taken him to the doctor.
You took him to a doctor?
Right.
Very, very apparently a terrible thing to do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's the money thing.
Yeah, that was my thought as well.
Yeah.
It's not. Is it addressed in this? It's not addressed in this episode. I don't believe.
No. It's just. Well, one, it's lifted from the movie, but two, it is. Yeah, it's just kind of implied. Like you can connect those dots pretty quickly.
If only we took some of the extra money that super rich guy had and used it to pay for healthcare for people.
No, Andrew, that's crazy.
That's
that
a terrible
that would never
idea.
work.
It would never work.
No,
Europe hasn't done that.
Right? No, every other major country hasn't pulled that off successfully. Not the one right to the north of us, nor
Certainly.
the ones across the pond.
Nope. Deep sigh, and probably Mexico will catch up before we get there.
Yeah, at this rate, it feels likely.
That's been
Politics corner.
yeah, socialism corner.
Yeah.
Is it even socialism?
It's barely socialism.
Democratic socialism.
So yeah. So George goes up and has this really sweet moment with Stuart.
Yeah.
Stuart's clutching his
Bike pedal?
his bike pedal. So in the movie, what happens?
Okay.
His daughter, his school teacher gives the daughter a rose as a prize, and she is walking home with it, and so she doesn't like tighten her coat, and she gets a cold.
Oh.
And she's still clutching this
Rose. While she's laying there sick.
Yep. And so he takes it from her, and a couple of petals fall off of the rose. She asks him to fix it. He says, okay. He puts the petals in his pocket. In this, Stuart gives him a bike pedal, and he puts that in his pocket after promising to fix the bike.
Because apparently oil won't work on it, unfortunately. Which is a great idea from the 3-year-old, I thought.
There's also, there's this good moment of just like kind of building this all up where like Mary's explaining this to George and he's losing his cool.
Yeah.
And Mary's like, well, look, it wasn't
new.
A new bike.
Yeah.
We cut corners there. Like we don't have a lot of money.
Yeah. He's like, what? The thing fell out of the bike I just got him? He's like, well, it wasn't new. And George goes up to see his son, very upset, and backtracking just a little bit. Jimmy throws in another line. It's like, good idea. Spread the joy.
Yep.
Which is really funny. But then, George kind of takes this like slightly more sentimental tone with Stuart and, kind of encourages him to rest and to take care of himself and feel better and dream about all of the things that he wants.
Dream about bikes and motorcycles and cars and mobile homes.
Yeah. Maybe
I really have all those in your dreams, Stuart. In your dreams. And then he comes down and the phone's ringing and he picks it up and it's Mrs. Welsh, who is calling to talk to him about, or is just calling to, check on Stuart.
Yeah.
And he loses his mind on her.
Yeah. Like, what is your son doing teaching my kid?
Son how
is
to
he an
ride
expert?
Yeah. Yep. It's very good. So in the movie, the teacher is Mrs. Welch.
And like the fruit snack?
Yep. And so this is Mrs. Welsh, and he does that same thing of chewing her out over the phone. She hangs up, and it's even more dramatic in the movie. Watch the movie, people.
Watch the movie. It's on Amazon Prime.
And then Jimmy is playing the guitar, and he's just like, and would you cut that out?
Yeah.
And Jimmy does a beautiful melodramatic quote of the movie of going, "Oh, Daddy!"
Yeah.
It's so funny.
It's really funny.
But it is one of the ones that's like, if you don't know that's a reference to the movie, you're like, wait,
I was so
what?
caught off. I was so caught off guard. Yeah. I had no clue.
Because it's a girl who says it in the movie.
Yeah.
So he's doing kind of that
impression.
And it's also he's doing like, 40s melodramatic child.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's really funny. I love it.
Well, and it was interesting for me to hear that because I was like, is he making fun of his dad? Is his dad okay with this?
Nope. Nope. He's parodying It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah.
And then he exits the house.
Yeah, he just dips.
And
went to buy milk and never came back.
Yeah. And
then Whit calls Mary on the phone, right?
Well, so there's a little stinger here of Mary saying like to Donna and Jimmy, like, your dad needs our prayers. And so in the movie, I think it actually maybe does this better where like the kids throw it out and then they all like pray.
Oh, they do that in the movie?
They do that in the movie.
Oh.
Yeah.
We need to finish this podcast so I can go be sad and watch It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah. And then, then it's we hear Whit taking a call from Mary saying that they're there at the Twin Peaks motel.
Yeah. Interesting Twin Peaks reference.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always here for a Twin Peaks reference. I love that show. It's
Paul
5
McCusker
years after.
It?
It's one of those that strikes me weird, like the Marvelous Mrs. Maisel reference, where I'm like, were they doing it just because like they know it's like a popular thing, or do they actually have personal attachment to it?
I really hope it's the latter.
I do too. I love the idea that Phil Lawler watches the Marvelous Mrs. Maisel and Paul McCusker likes Twin Peaks. Those just tickle me.
Yeah. Oh man, if only we could get Paul McCusker into Marvelous Mrs. Maisel.
I mean, that's the crossover we're all waiting for.
Yeah.
And so then Whit kind of fills Eugene in on everything.
Yeah.
And they split up to search the town.
Yeah, to look for George, because George has gone missing, and she
doesn't know. It's been like a couple hours.
Yeah, he's been gone for a while. And there's was it Whit or is it Eugene that makes the comment? You can't really hide in a town this size, so okay, we'll split up. Is this when we get
This is when George then goes to Barry Lionel and begins to beg for the money.
Yeah, we cut straight to that. Yeah.
He's like, just earlier today you called me a warped, frustrated, old man. What's up with that? And George is like, and George is like, well, we're not like that different. Like deep down, he's like, what? You're some like warped, frustrated young man.
Yeah.
Like I butchered that line, but it is really funny.
Oh no, it is good.
The warped, frustrated young man, which is also from It's a Wonderful Life.
It was really, It's really funny. Barry Lionel has a couple of zingers here. He's like saying like, oh, give it a rest. Like, honestly, the deed's been done. Like, it is what it is. You can go back to your life in Odyssey, and maybe you can become a custodian or a youth pastor.
Part-time youth pastor. Just throwing so much shade there. And
I mean, custodians get paid pretty well depending on where you custodian.
Yeah, custodian's custodian. Clearly. He throws out the brutal, your church is worth more dead than alive,
Yeah.
Like, earlier, he wasn't really willing to fess up to the whole, like, wanting the land, and now he just goes full evil and is like, I want the land, George.
I'm coming for the oil. There's gold in them there hills. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's really, really upsetting. He says, go home, it's over, you failed. Yeah. Like, this guy is very emotionally aggressive, I must say. And so then George goes to get a new pedal for the bike from Jack Allen, a.k.a. Irish bike salesman, who just so happens to be the wife of the lady that... the husband of the lady that George yelled at over the phone, and he flips out at George and basically kicks him out of the store. He's super upset.
Yeah. Yep. And and it's so in the movie, this is George hitting like rock bottom, going to a bar, drinking, and running into the father of or the husband of this teacher, who then punches him, and he gets thrown out of the bar.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And
interesting.
I
didn't realize this movie was so brutal.
Movie's great. And so it's one of the things that like I really appreciate that this episode does is, hey, they're not beholden to the script. So, like, obviously they're not going to have George go and drink, but they're also
be cool if he did, though.
But they're also not like, they're not making it out to him being in that dire a place. Like, he's definitely in a bad place, but like, I love the fact that he's going to buy
something for his kid.
Yeah, that he like wants to get this bike thing fixed.
Yeah, he just wants to do one right thing.
He shows up and Jack is, closing up shop.
We'll call him Jack. It's okay.
Mr. Welsh.
Yeah, Jack Welsh.
Jack Welsh.
Jack Allen Welsh.
Jack Allen Young Welsh. But yeah, he's just... And so, yeah, at first is like, oh, yeah, I'll, get you this the next day. And he's like, wait a second.
You're that guy.
Yeah. Yep.
We don't like you. We don't serve your he was really mean to his wife.
Yeah.
That's tough.
Yeah. Oh, it's, genuinely horrible. Mr. Welsh is doing the right thing here.
Yeah.
And so, and then we jump to Whit and Eugene, meeting back up. Neither of them have seen him. And Whit's like, all right, well, we've been this whole time thinking, like, what would George Barkley do? Maybe we should instead start thinking about, like, what would a man who's reached rock bottom do?
Yeah, what would a desperate man who's reached rock bottom do? And that's when Eugene's like, well, if I were blah, 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 I would stand like over a bridge and look over and contemplate jumping off.
Much like that man is doing.
Right now.
That's not a man. That's George Barkley.
And then slow motion, they run. And then full motion, Eugene falls off the bridge.
Right. So George is like yelling to stop. And then
the bridge is icy.
Yep. And he slips and he falls.
Yeah. And presumably like... So I got the vibe that if you fell off that bridge, you would die. And Eugene just proceeded to fall off that bridge.
Yep.
And that's where the episode ends.
It is... This might be the best break in a two-parter ever in
Yeah,
Odyssey.
I was thinking the same thing. Whereas like they
Because
just cut it and that's it.
They cut it, that's it. This is the like pivot in the movie and in the story. Like the next episode is going to be them doing the what you think of when you think of It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah.
Of the like what would it be like if you had never been born whole thing will be next episode, but this is like the perfect point to pivot on of just it's a cliffhanger, there's peril,
There's a lot of peril.
Thematically the episode's about to change.
So is there any parallel to It's a Wonderful Life?
Yeah, I mean he's standing on a bridge contemplating jumping off.
Okay.
Although he actually seems to maybe intentionally be contemplating.
Yeah.
And then Clarence, who is his guardian angel, who Eugene will be representing, especially in part 2, jumps off the bridge so that George will jump in to save him rather than jumping in to kill himself. So in this, they just have Eugene comically fall off, and then, spoiler for next episode, George will jump in after him.
Wow. I am so glad that they did not get hypothermia. That would make a really dark ending to this this episode.
Yeah.
But
and
yeah,
that's where it ends. It's great. I feel like, I don't know, there's not, we'll get into more like thematic stuff next episode. I think as with most two-parters, this is like a lot of legwork.
Yeah.
And the added element of like tying every scene to what it is in the movie.
Yeah,
is like
definitely.
another interesting element.
But I don't know. I really enjoyed it.
Oh, it's
and
great.
I loved getting, kind of the crossing of worlds with Eugene and Whit getting to come and visit the Barclays and everything like that, kind of on their home turf. You get these characters in different environments.
Right. And it just feels like the perfect everything in the Barclay story has been building to this. Of course, this is how they're going to end it.
Yeah.
We called them, Mary and George and Donna and Jimmy from day one.
For a reason.
Now we get to pay that off.
Yeah. So good. And even more satisfying listening through the episodes the way that we have, I would say.
Yeah, I agree.
Do you have anything else you want to say?
I don't.
I think I'm fresh out of takes, but except for watch It's a Wonderful Life.
Please do.
Please do. It'll hopefully make you enjoy this episode more and the next episode
really,
as well.
Yeah, it really worked for me.
That being said, if you have any ideas for what you want to go on with the social media, if you want to do a lot of interaction and posting of, favorite moments in Odyssey and things like that.
Or if you've got WadFam ChalkPod memes, DM them to Andrew.
Please.
He's taken over social media now.
Yeah.
So
and I am notoriously accessible, so
yeah.
Go for it. Memes or even, you got like fan art for the show. Like I don't know. Yep. I think it's all very interesting and I'd be more than happy to share the love, the Odyssey Instagram, Twitter love.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, and if you're not already following those accounts, do it because there's new stuff there.
Yes, sir. At WadFam ChalkPod.
Yep, we got that handle. Amazingly, was not taken.
Yeah, a real astonishment. It's certainly not hard to say the name of the show to anybody and make it make sense.
Nope. It's a perfect name. And with all that being said, we'll be back next week for episode 386. It's a Pokenberry Christmas, part 2.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
WadFam ChalkPod is a presentation of the Lidditz Podcast Co-op. This show is a fan podcast and has no official affiliation with Adventures in Odyssey or Focus on the Family. As such, the copyright is ours under Creative Commons. Follow the podcast at WadFam ChalkPod on Twitter and Instagram, or email us at wadfamchalkpod@gmail.com. It's a Pokenberry Christmas Part 1 was hosted by Dylan Weaver and Andrew Sabo and edited by Dylan Weaver. And I'm Nathan Haverstick, hoping you'll join us again next time for more of the WadFam ChalkPod.